Come on, Z. One more for the fam. That's how it's done. Oh, well, hello, everybody. Zach Couples here, and you haven't been watching me long, have you? I mean, I get it, but man, well, you just caught me at the tail end of my workout. Yeah, I just finished training at my wonderful place of employment, Elevate Sports Performance and Healthcare. If you're in Las Vegas, Nevada, check us out for sure. Link is below in the description. And it's a pretty cool place. And the reason why it's cool is because, well, I mean, you can kind of see the equipment that we got here. You can have a lot of rehab success here. And not only that, we have a really cool interdisciplinary approach where we have chiros, trainers, nutrition coaches. We got the whole shebang here. It's awesome. And maybe you are a budding physical therapist, or maybe you're looking to get into PT school and you're thinking, man, I'd like to kind of work at a place like this. I wonder how Big Z got a job like that. I wonder what physical therapy school he went to. Maybe that's the ticket. Maybe that's the ticket to working in like a rehab fantasy land like this is. And I'm very grateful that I'm here. Well, when I think about physical therapy school, I like to think about something that one of my favorite philosophers of all time, The Rock, once said. It doesn't matter what your PT school is. Sort of. You see, folks, physical therapy is a little bit different than other professions. The school you go to doesn't necessarily get you a better job or greater pay or anything like that. It's not like, oh, this doctor went to Harvard Medical, or, ooh, this person went to the Wharton School of Business, or, ooh, that rapper went to the School of Hard Knocks. No, it's not like that at all. So your USCs, your WashUs, things like that, it's not gonna get you on a different trajectory than, say, a school like I went to, which wasn't considered one of the major schools, St. Ambrose Wood. That doesn't mean that you should choose a physical therapy school willy-nilly. In fact, if you choose the wrong school, that might set you up down a negative trajectory for the beginning of your physical therapy career. Well, Zach, that's confusing, right? On one hand, you're saying, well, the school that you go to doesn't really matter. On the other hand, you're saying if you go to the wrong school, you're screwed. Well, how do I know what school I should go to? Well, you can find out the best PT program for you by answering these 3 questions. If you can get these 3 questions answered adequately by your physical therapy school, you're going to be set up for a positive path into the profession, and you won't get railed by any of the negatives that come with being a physical therapist. But in order to know what those 3 questions are, we got to take a jump to the office. But first, allow me to slip into something more comfortable. That's better. The first question that you need to ask the physical therapy schools that you are applying to is, how much are you? How much do you cost? In fact, I would argue that this is the single most important factor in deciding what school you ought to be attending. Consider this. According to the U.S. News, the average physical therapist makes around $89,000 per year as of 2019, with a fairly large variance depending on where you live, what setting you are working in, and many other factors. For example, if you plan on going into skilled nursing, home health, or travel physical therapy, chances are you're going to make a heck of a lot more than your outpatient physical therapy contemporaries, which is where I practice. Moreover, the growth in this field is expected to be about 18% over the next 10 years. So you would think, this sounds pretty good. That's not a bad amount of money. You know, it's well over that $75,000 that is needed to be happy sort of thing. Although there's a lot of questions with that study, but that's neither here nor there. But here's the thing you got to think about. How much debt do you have to incur to make that $89,000? And it turns out, folks, it's a lot. In fact, according to the American Physical Therapy Association, the average student physical therapist, once they leave PT school, is going to have accumulated over $116,000 in debt. That's a lot of money. How much is a lot? Well, you got to look at your debt to income ratios to determine how significant this discrepancy is. According to this one website that educates a lot of students on debt, a general rule of thumb is that your total student loan debt should be less than your annual income, which means that your average repayment in a given year, assuming a 10-year loan, ought to be around 10 to 15% of your income. Now, if you assume a 5% interest rate on that $116,000 to be paid over 10 years, you're going to be paying roughly 17% of your income towards student loans. And you might think, well, Zach, that ain't all that bad, right? Well, you have to consider the other costs that you're going to be incurring now that you're going to be adulting and stuff. You factor in that approximately 25% of your income is likely going to go to housing. The amount of money that you have to live off of and invest in things such as retirement, education, and other things slowly starts to dwindle, starts to burn away, which is going to negatively impact your ability to build equity, take out loans for other things that you might need, such as homes, cars. Your interest rates that you're going to get not going to be so great because your debt to income ratio is going to be significantly higher if you are taking out that much more money to work than what you'll be making salary-wise. Not only that, but the stress of having student loan debt and how this is impacting our ability to live the lives we want to live. We might not be able to live in the places that we'd like to because of costs. We might be putting off having families, investing in relationships, all of that because of the significant amount of debt that you might incur when going to physical therapy school. Now, folks, let's contrast this bleak situation with another healthcare provider, a physician assistant. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average physician assistant salary in 2020 is about $115,000, whereas their average student loan debt is around $112,000. Again, that's still a lot of money, but it is less than what they're going to make on an average salary, meaning they're going to have an easier time paying off those student loans. You can see how big the discrepancy is in both of these fields. And what scares me is what's going to potentially happen to our profession down the line. Reimbursement rates are declining, and physical therapy schools are increasing the number of students that can enroll into their programs. Given the declining reimbursement rates and the likely oversaturation of physical therapists, which, folks, we're already seeing that in certain parts of the country, the chances of you making a livable income based on the debt that you're accruing is tough. It's going to be really hard. And if you want to stand out as a physical therapist in an oversaturated market, you have to be that much better than your competition. And the way that you're going to get better is by spending time learning and potentially taking jobs that maybe don't pay as well, that provide excellent mentorship to take your physical therapy practice to the next level. But if you have all of this student loan debt and it's making it hard to live, you're not going to be able to do that. And then you're not going to be standing out. And you're not going to be able to make it in this field the way you want to. You might not be able to work the type of jobs that you want to work, all because of debt. And I would argue for myself, the reason why I'm in the position that I am right now is because I spent a ton of time, effort, and money in the beginning of my career, taking a ton of continuing education courses. I positioned myself to take jobs where I was able to learn more or to connect and collaborate with like-minded, smart clinicians. And that allowed me to be the PT that I am today. Now, the problem with me and the way that I did it was I took out more debt to get to that level. And that put me in a hole financially for a while. Like, don't do this at home, folks, but I was living off of 0% interest rate cards. Like, it was not good. And, fortunately, I didn't go way into debt, more so than I was thinking I would have previously. But it really impeded my ability to pay off my student loans because I was doing income-based repayment plans, among other things. And, the downside is when you're not paying money on student loans as much as you should, interest rate's still going to accrue. And that makes it a lot harder to pay off your debt. And then what I ended up doing was working my face off for a few years to really eradicate the debt. And I haven't looked back since. And that was a big mistake I made that I didn't take into consideration when applying to physical therapy school. But I'm lucky compared to a lot of my peers because my debt, it was a lot, but there's some who were double what I had, which is just crazy to me. You have to take the costs of physical therapy school seriously. And the smaller hit that you can take, the better off you're going to be on the back end. At the end of physical therapy school, we all get the same paper degrees. And it doesn't matter what school you attend because you're not going to make any more money if you attend a prestigious university. So I would strongly encourage you to choose the school that has the lowest price tag possible. Make sure that the amount of debt you're going to take is significantly less than what you're going to make. The second question that you have to ask the physical therapy schools that you are applying to is, can I set up my own clinical affiliations? As much as you learn when you are in class, the most important learning experience that you can have in physical therapy school are your clinicals, the time where you're going to be seeing patients, getting in the trenches with those supreme clientele. That's what it's about. That's where you really get the learning experience. And nothing will prepare you better for patient care than having an excellent clinical instructor and working in a setting that's best going to transfer to where you want to be with your practice. Having a great clinical instructor is going to save you time. They're going to prevent you from making mistakes that they've already made. Not only that, but what they can also do is ensure that the mistakes that you do make in practice are safe to fail and that you learn from them in a quick and efficient manner. They're going to help you troubleshoot those hard cases that, because you don't have the experience, you might not be able to help best. That's what they're there for, and it's so important to have a good clinical instructor. I cannot harp on this enough. You want to have the best CI, clinical instructor, that you possibly can. You want someone that you look up to and practices the way you want to practice. Having Bill Hartman as my CI in PT school was one of the most transformative experiences of my career. I wouldn't be a third of the PT that I am today if I didn't have that experience. Not just from like a practice standpoint, but the connections I made being at IFAST, the friends that I've met along the way, having an amazing relationship with Bill that goes beyond PT. It was the most transformative thing that I could have asked for. And the only reason I was able to have that clinical experience with Bill was because I sought him out and I was able to set up my own clinical affiliation with him. And I thought, oh, cool. I bet every PT school does that. How lucky am I that I can do this, and how lucky are my peers that they'll be able to do this as well? False. Did you know that a lot of PT schools won't let you set up your own clinical experience? In fact, this happened to a ton of my peers and colleagues. They wanted to learn from someone like Bill or a ton of other people, and they couldn't because the PT schools thought in their infinite wisdom, oh, well, we got a bunch of clinicals. You're going to do just fine. Just do these ones that we have here. They've been vetted by us. Yeah, vetted. And by vetted, what that means is they either were in mills or they had clinical instructors who weren't that great. You cannot leave it up to the physical therapy program to make those kind of decisions for you. Well, a lot of them are incredibly smart on the didactic side of things, and some are very good practitioners as well. That doesn't mean that they're going to know what type of physical therapist that you want to be. And they might not be able to appropriately vet a lot of these clinical practices because you're not there. You're not there when the CI is doing their thing. You're not watching them practice to see if this clinical is good or not. You're not there to see if they're just running patients through a mill. And that's not the PT school's fault. There's a ton of clinical sites that you can go to, and they just don't have the manpower to be able to do that. But to not let a student who has done their homework, research the field, and know the way they want to practice, not set up clinical affiliations is a travesty. And it's doing the profession a disservice. I want to make sure you avoid that. I want to make sure that you choose a physical therapy program that's going to advocate for you being the PT you want to be. And the way you can do that is by knowing in advance what things you need to do in order to make a clinical affiliation happen. Here's what I would do before you go into the interview with a PT school. First, I would really think about the practice setting that you want to be in. Spend some time observing. Do you want to be a neuro PT? Cool. Work in a neuro setting. You want to be outpatient? Hang with your boy Big Z in Vegas. What you going to do about it? Do you want to do skilled nursing? Spend some time volunteering and observing physical therapy in skilled nursing facilities. See what it is about and really know what type of PT you want to be. The second thing is to really reflect on the type of clinician you want to be. During your observations, were there things you saw that the physical therapist did that you actually loved, loathed, hated? You're like, ooh, I'm never going to do that. Well, find out what that is. And then the third thing you want to do is seek out physical therapists who embody those first 2 points. You want to find the best in the field that you're looking to get into and reach out to them. Find out if they accept students. If they accept students, then you already have the conversation broached. You have something set up, ready to go, because you're like, you know what? I really like so-and-so. I like what they're doing. Maybe even go and observe them, intern with them. And then you're like, you got that relationship and you're ready to go. You're ready to learn from that particular person. And then the last thing you want to do is have all of that information ready at your physical therapy school interview. You can say something like, hey, this is what I envision myself as a physical therapist. I have reached out to this particular person. I really want to set up a clinical affiliation with them because I know that that's going to be the most important thing for me carrying out my job the way I want to. Do you allow that to happen at your school? And if they say, oh, heavens no, we have a bunch of excellent clinical affiliations already set up, so you don't have to do the work, you run. You run as fast as possible from that school. You might even say, you know what, I'm good, big fam. I'm going to leave this interview. I want to go somewhere where they're actually going to advocate and care for the way I want to practice and help me be the PT I want to be, because that school is not going to. The third question that you want to ask when applying to physical therapy schools is, does the curriculum support my goals as a PT? While an excellent clinical experience is by far the most important, you do want to have a solid curriculum that's going to give you an adequate foundation to get the most out of those experiences. But the topics that are going to support you getting there are not what you think. Like it or not, the practice strategies and treatments taught in physical therapy school are oftentimes a bit antiquated. The exercise selection is LOL status. Don't even get me started on modalities, folks. That's not what they're there to teach you. What they're there to teach you at in PT school is how to pass the test. That's the way it is, and that's totally okay. So in my mind, the treatments that you learn in PT school aren't all that important. What is important, though, are the basic sciences. Yes, I'm talking anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, chemistry, physics, all of that stuff. That's going to provide the fundamentals you need to be an excellent physical therapist. Having a thorough understanding of the basics will allow you to better consume research and continuing education. It's going to allow you to critically appraise thought processes that are different from yours, because if it doesn't jive with science, you're going to run away from that. And lastly, it's going to allow you to devise better treatment strategies that have a scientific underpinning. A lot of times, we might not have some good evidence to support a treatment for a specific condition or presentation. But if you have rock solid fundamentals in the basic sciences, you can draw from the way that the human body works and devise an effective treatment protocol based on that alone. And if you don't have an adequate understanding of the basic sciences, it's sorely going to limit your potential as a clinician. Unfortunately, my PT school had pretty solid basic sciences. The downside is I didn't study them or appreciate them to the extent that I should have when I was in school. That's why now I'm reading a lot of physics and basic things so I can beef up my fundamentals, because it allows me to better consume research and things that I'm reading. It's going to increase your BS filter to the nth degree. So you have to have a really good basic science background. Once you've ensured that the basic sciences are on point, then you can kind of look at things that might support your physical therapy practice that you plan on going into. If you're someone who's way into neuro, you want to make sure that the neuro professor is a rock star and they have experiences where you can spend time working around neuro patients. All of that's going to help you. You want to be a researcher? Cool. Do they offer research opportunities in your physical therapy practice? You thinking of getting on that outpatient train like your boy Big Z? Well, make sure the manual therapy that they teach you in PT school is rock solid. Because that was one thing in my school that was really awesome, is I got exposed to a bazillion different manual therapy techniques that I apply in my outpatient practice on the regular. Don't hesitate to ask the physical therapy school how their curriculum is going to help you be the physical therapist that you want to be, especially if you've outlined to them and shown with your previous line of questioning where you want to go. And those are the 3 key questions that you have to ask when applying to physical therapy school. First, how much does it cost? And make sure it is as inexpensive as possible, because the prestige of the university doesn't matter. The second thing is, can you set up your own clinical affiliations? You want to make sure that you have the best clinical experience possible. That's going to help set you up for success once you graduate from PT school. And lastly, does the curriculum support the type of physical therapist that you want to be? Make sure it is rock solid in the basic sciences, and there are experiences that you'll be able to have that will better transfer to what you want to do as a physical therapist. If you like this video and you want to see more of them, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like, and share it with a prospective physical therapy student, because I think that the better you can set yourself up in the beginning, the easier time and the better experience you're going to have being a physical therapist on the back end. Thank you so much for tuning in. You've been an amazing, outstanding audience. Keep it real, but not to the extent where things go wrong. Stay hungry, stay learning, stay moving, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.